What is going on, guys? It is Jamil with MILMID Studios. Thank you so much for tuning in to another video. Guys, welcome to 2024. This is the first video on this channel for 2024, and I want to thank you for taking the time to revisit this channel. We've had some great growth in 2023, and we're looking forward to great things in 2024. I just got back from a family trip to Waterton National Park where me, Emily, and our little baby girl spent the night. It was quite the adventure. I brought the Canon R3 and the Leica Q2 Monochrome, two very different cameras. But for the R3, I brought the RF 15-35mm f2.8, and obviously on the Q2 Monochrome we have the 28mm f1.7 Summilux. And these are very different cameras. Obviously, one is a black and white sensor. The other one is a color, very fast camera, 24 megapixels versus the 47 on the Q2M. Two cameras that have very different usages, and they were very apparent to me on this trip, and I'm happy that I brought them both. So I wanted to kind of go over some of the nuances with these cameras, and if you are in the market for this Q2M or the Canon R3 or a similar camera to the Canon R3, whether it be a Sony or Nikon camera, Fujifilm, whatever the case may be, there are some differences that I wanted to discuss with you guys today, while also showing you guys some B-roll of the trip and kind of telling you a little story about our trip. Before we get into that, guys, I want to invite you to visit my website at www.milmidstudios.com/presets. You can take a look at my presets and follow me on Instagram at milmidstudios, and I have a black and white dedicated page at Stark Contrast. So I had a few days off work, and the wife and I decided that we would go on a little getaway. It would be Gia's first getaway. We'd sort of be testing the waters to see how she would do, and we decided to go to Waterton National Park. It's just north Montana, and the ride there was really cool. And we actually want to go on a lot more trips, which is great for family bonding, making memories, and also for content, let's be honest. So we actually saw some pretty cool wildlife. We saw a golden eagle, we saw a bald eagle, which is really cool. Like, I don't see those around where I'm living, so to travel south closer to the American border, it was really cool to see that. We also got really close to bighorn sheep, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous about how close they were to the car, and I was wondering, I wonder if insurance would cover me if these guys rammed our vehicle. It was really neat to drive by these windmills. There were like hundreds of them, and actually when you got super close to them, it was just truly amazing to see how massive these things were. So it was a really cool perspective to really see them up close just driving on the highway. It was really interesting having both these cameras at my disposal, because I really was able to see the strengths and weaknesses. Weaknesses, I use that word loosely because both these cameras are very different. The Canon R3 is a speed demon, beautiful resolution in the photos, only 24 megapixels, but a super fast camera that produces a really nice picture when paired with the RF lenses. The Leica Q2 Monochrome is a camera where you are a bit more intentional. It's a bit more niche, only a black and white sensor, so you can get some really dramatic photos. And the photos that I got with this camera really shine, where the Canon R3, in my opinion, kind of fell flat. In the defense of the Canon R3, when we were approached by some bighorn sheep, I didn't reach for the Leica Q2. I reached for the Canon R3 because the autofocus was going to be accurate, it was going to be fast, it was going to be sticky, and in that situation, I wanted reliable autofocus. Now, the Leica Q2 Monochrome has made leaps and bounds in regards to autofocus. In my opinion, when I purchased this had the 2.0 firmware, and I just recently upgraded to the 5.0, and it was like a brand new camera, having eye tracking, eye autofocus. So pretty cool, and it's a solid camera, but nowhere close to the speed and the tech that is in the Canon R3. This is a completely different beast altogether, and just because it doesn't match the speed of the R3 doesn't mean that it's a slouch. I was able to get a really beautiful landscape shot with this that, when I tried to take it with the Canon R3, it fell flat. So I came upon this scene where there was kind of just prairie land, and then it came to a hill where there were these barren white trees, and then in the background there were mountains. And for some reason it kind of caught my eye, and I liked the elements of the photo, and I brought out the Canon R3 with me, and I also brought the Leica Q2 just in case. And with the Canon R3 I lined up the shot with the 50-35, took the photo, and it just fell flat for me. I didn't really have the light that I wanted. You know, the sun was maybe behind the clouds. It wasn't very dramatic. It wasn't popping. And I took the photo and it was no good. It didn't really resonate with me. So I actually put the Leica Q2 monochrome on the tripod, and I lined up and I framed up the shot, and I was really blown away by the result. Now with the Canon R3 and literally any color sensor, you have the flexibility and the leverage to, you know, take away all the color and make it into a black and white photo. And I've done that with some portraits, and it's super nice, really nice image. But there is something about the monochrome sensor, and I think it could be something to do with how the blacks are rendered, how the shadows, I don't know what it is exactly. I'm still trying to figure it out, but there's something that is unique about the black and white photos that come out of this thing, especially when mixed with some of my color grading that I do. Well, I guess it's not really color grading if I'm grading a black and white photo. Shadow grading, we'll call it. And that was really apparent when I took the black and white photo out of this Q2 monochrome versus the color photo on the Canon R3. So obviously, you know, this camera is a very niche camera, like I stated before. If all you do is black and white photography, like, this is a no-brainer. This is an awesome camera. Or even like the M10 monochrome, the M9 monochrome, or the M11 monochrome. Like, it's really a no-brainer. This is a fantastic camera, and I'm so happy that Leica, you know, is investing in a black and white sensor when no one else really is doing that. So these are two very different platforms. In conclusion, guys, when I look at the Canon R3 and cameras like it, you're looking at a system that is highly reliable when it comes to autofocus, when it comes to sticky autofocus, when it comes to speed, when you need speed, whether you're doing events or weddings or sports photography, whatever the case may be. This is a workhorse. The Canon R3 has never let me down. It is a wonderful hybrid camera that can shoot beautiful video and beautiful images. This is a go-to tool. This, however, is a more niche product. This is something that has a specific use. Black and white sensor, beautiful lens, beautiful image, beautiful rendering of shadows and blacks and whites. This thing is a wonderful tool if you're into black and white photography. Very different from the Canon R3 and most any camera you're gonna get. And to me, that was the appeal of getting this camera. One of the reasons why I really enjoy shooting with this camera over the Canon R3 is because I feel that you're more involved in the process of making photographs. Like when you switch this lens to manual focus, it's just a beautiful experience. You know, the knobs and the switches, everything about it is really just a purist sort of feel. I guess it's not a rangefinder, but you know, when I'm shooting with this thing, I'm shooting with intentionality, and you know, that's just my opinion and how I feel when I use it, and it's the experience for me. And saying all that isn't a hit on the Canon R3. The Canon R3 is a super reliable tool, like I said, but this is just a different experience altogether, and that's what you sort of pay for when you get something like this. So guys, I hope that this sort of gave you some insight if you're trying to make the decision whether you want the Leica Q2 monochrome or if you want a Canon R3 or a similar camera to the Canon R3. I hope that this kind of gave some insight and some clarity and made your decision a little bit easier to make. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to another video. I'm actually going to be heading out tomorrow for some street photography with a camera I haven't taken out yet, and that is the Sony Alpha 6400 with a manual focus newer lens. It's an f1.1 APS-C lens. Really excited, so stay tuned for that, guys. Thanks so much for your continued support. Remember, the best gear is the gear you have, and the best photos are the ones you take. Don't forget to keep on shooting.